that heavier rainfall earlier today. It looks to be moving out, but we're not done yet with the wet weather.
2 people died in the rising creek waters last week in Santee. What the fire department's doing to keep that from happening again.
As the storm rolls through, how the storm channels held up in the areas hardest hit by last week's flooding.
Evictions put on pause for those impacted by the storm, but tonight we'll introduce you to residents who still feel like they're being forced out.
Help from volunteers and a generous donation to help one community hit hard by the flooding.
And we're counting down the days to Super Bowl Sunday with a look back at some of the Super Bowl stories connected to San Diego. CBS 8 News Live at 6 starts now.
Another round of rain washed across San Diego today and is now on its way out. The latest winter storm comes as San Diegans are still working to recover from last week's flooding. Tonight we're spread out across the county to keep tabs on the most concerning areas. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Carlo Cicchetto.
I'm Marcella Lee. As we come on the air tonight, the storm that pounded San Diego today is on its way out, but an even bigger storm is now headed our way. All this as thousands of San Diegans are still recovering from last week's historic flooding.
CBS 8 crews have seen some light flooding today, but city workers are doing their best to keep the water at bay. Chief Meteorologist Carlene Chavis is tracking the storm and others expected next week. Richard Allen will join us with a live update on the flood channel cleanup still underway in South Crest. But tonight we start with Abby Black live in Santee with how crews are responding there. Abby.
Carlo, Forester Creek is right behind me and it feeds into the San Diego River, and it's been amazing just in the last hour to see how much it has receded. That means that the rain has let up and it's receded, but when the rain comes down, it is swift, and this is where we've seen people rescued. The fire chief tells me that they have not had to make any significant storm-related responses to calls today, but with another storm coming up, they say that they have beefed up their crews. Forester Creek and Santee moved swiftly during today's rain. Last week's storm caught Beth Hall by surprise, so she didn't want to take any chances today.
So we were completely stunned by how much rain there was. You could just see it coming and coming and coming, but my husband's like, we don't want to take any chances this time around, so we are prepared.
The family loaded up on sandbags in case water reached their home.
We got sandbags, we got prepared because we heard that the rain was coming and it's going to last a while.
Lydia Reyes says that she too doesn't want to risk anything after last week's storm.
My daughter came home last night saying, hey, it's supposed to rain tomorrow. I'm like, no.
Her house got the brunt of it last week.
Just loads of water in the backyard. And then my pool overflows, so that's not fun.
Although the rainfall was much lighter today, Santee neighbors say that they would rather be over-prepared.
Last week was crazy. I feel like it's pretty up and down, you know, it's kind of unpredictable.
Heavier rain is in the forecast over the next week.
That's scary because we heard that the rain was supposed to stop maybe Saturday and Sunday, but keep going. So the more rain and the more saturated the roads and everything become, you know, where's the rain or where's the water supposed to go?
The Santee Fire Department says crews work to clear as much debris from the creek to keep it from flooding. Last week, they rescued a woman who was clinging to a tree in Forester Creek. They used a ladder and a life jacket to pull her from the raging waters. After the storm, the medical examiner says that they found 2 people dead in the creek. The fire chief says that they are working with homeless outreach teams to keep people away from the creek and riverbeds.
They have been proactively canvassing the area, communicating the need to really get out of those areas when the storm comes.
The city still has free sandbags available at the operations yard on Via Zapador. I know we keep talking about last week, but that storm really gave us some perspective on how we can better prepare for today's storm and the upcoming storm. Last week, the 911 system was overloaded, and in Santee, they say that they have now added additional staff to try to triage those 911 calls.
Thanks, Abby. And following last week's devastating flooding and in advance of today's storm, the city of San Diego has been working overtime to clear out the storm channels that were quickly overwhelmed by the previous storm, and also issued an evacuation warning as a precaution.
CBS 8's Richard Allen is in South Crest tonight with a look at how those communities so hard hit by last week's floods are faring today. Richard?
Well, that's right, Carlo and Marcella. We are getting a break from the rain for the time being. It was raining pretty hard out here earlier today, though. But as you can see behind me, this storm channel here along National Avenue in South Crest, along with so many storm channels in the area hardest hit by last week's flooding, are now cleared out, allowing today's rains to flow through. You can see it flowing through pretty quickly here, which is exactly what the storm channel is designed to do, sparing these homes today from flooding. Now, that's a far cry from the devastating flooding we saw last Monday in communities like Mountain View and here in South Crest, where homes were destroyed and many families were left with no place to go. Now, in advance of today's storm, the city did issue a voluntary evacuation warning. Many residents here, though, had already left their homes uninhabitable, with more than 300 of them so far getting temporary housing help through the Jackie Robinson YMCA here in the community. And volunteers, though, say a couple hundred more residents are still in need of housing help. And while it appears at this point that thankfully these communities so hard hit by flooding last week were spared today, emergency response leaders are still urging families in low-lying areas to be prepared to evacuate if need be, with more storms forecast for next week.
If it gets to be too bad, you absolutely should leave, because as we see, these things can change so fast. And you have people on the roofs of their houses, people who are literally swimming for their lives.
We need more. We need more. These people are devastated. They've lost everything, and they've had to start from scratch, start all over.
And live back here in South Crest, you can see that rainwater flowing through the storm channel, which is exactly what it's designed to do. Now, the Jackie Robinson YMCA is in serious need of donations to provide that temporary housing and also food for residents who were so hard hit by last week's flood. But thankfully, today's rains did not lead to the flooding we saw last Monday, as those impacted residents, though, are continuing here to recover. Carlo and Marcella?
Thanks, Richard. Now let's turn to Chief Meteorologist Carlene Chavis.
Yeah, I've been tracking the storm and checking the totals. It was about what you expected and were predicting for this round.
For this round, yeah, we did have some areas west of the mountains that saw an inch or more of rain, and that's also what prompted a flash flood warning for portions of North County earlier today. But everything has since expired when it comes to that flash flood warning. We're still holding on to chances for more rain in the forecast, and that's going to widen that gap even more when it does come to those totals. So let's go ahead and take a look at the radar right now. We're still seeing some isolated activity that's out there, and it's starting to make its way towards the east, and we're seeing that just towards the south of Pine Valley, also across Palomar Mountain. But over the last 6 hours, a different story. You had a lot heavier rainfall moving in. That key time frame, as mentioned, was 9 to 3 today. And so that's when we had the bulk of that moisture. And that's also, as mentioned, what prompted that flash flood warning that we had that was encompassing in Escondido, as well as for Oceanside and Carlsbad earlier today. That expired around about 1:45. Now we're still looking at that low moving out. We're still not behind the front entirely, but we will be soon. And so we're still holding on to chances for some wet weather in that forecast. You're looking about 9:35 tonight. It's more spotty than anything else. That's going to be scattered around that time, but then it turns more spotty as we go into those overnight hours. Also, snow levels coming down, and so we are anticipating about 1 to 3 inches of snow in our local mountains. You're seeing that in early morning hours from Mount Laguna, and then also still holding on to that, as well as some isolated activity west of the mountains around 8:30 tomorrow morning. We'll go ahead and take a look at your complete forecast and the details on that next storm system coming up.
Thanks, Carlene. Tonight, San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria says he is planning to lift the evacuation warning tomorrow morning for those living in the flood-prone areas.
During a news conference in just the last hour, the mayor asked everyone to stay prepared for the next round of storms, similar to how everyone responded today.
This is not the time to put your guard down. We really want people to maintain a sort of active posture on this. Let's wait till we get through all the predicted storms that we're currently experiencing. Obviously last week was an extraordinary action, and we don't know what Mother Nature has in store for us. So we're gonna continue to be proactive, prepared, and know that by doing those things, we're all better off.
The mayor says the Housing Commission has been able to help house 37 families while they wait to move back into their permanent homes. And as the rain was coming down, CBS 8 went to work tracking any issues that came with it.
One problem area that we saw last week was around Chollas Creek. Today, 2 people experiencing homelessness had to be rescued from the rising water near the riverbed. This was near 54th Street and Chollas Parkway. San Diego Fire responded and got the couple out safely.
In the East Village, city crews rushed to clear a clogged storm drain. It caused some minor flooding, and workers were able to quickly clear the drain, though, with shovels once they arrived.
Plus, sandbags were stacked outside of businesses in Mission Beach today. People tell us they wanted to be prepared after last week's storm. Improvements were also seen in PB today. Last week, intersections were flooded, causing people to be rescued from cars. But today, cars drove straight through safely.
CHP has some reminders to keep people safe when they're out on the road during the kind of wet weather we've been experiencing.
There are a few things that you should remember to avoid: crashing or hydroplaning. Allow extra time to get to your destination. Leave extra room between the car and your car, the car in front of you. Avoid using cruise control when it rains. Avoid drivers who may be speeding. And do not do any hard braking. That can change the trajectory of your course and, of course, slow down when you're driving on slick roads. The CHP says law enforcement and other agencies are out in full force, making sure everyone is safe.
We're going to be out all over the place. Officers, the firefighters, the tow drivers, Caltrans, we're all going to be out there trying to make the roads as safe as possible, and just be careful when you're out there driving.
Out of precaution, CHP says they closed eastbound State Route 78 at the El Camino on-ramp. They say water tends to build up in that area, and they wanted to get ahead of it.
The American Red Cross has a shelter open tonight at the Balboa Park Municipal Gym for anyone affected by the storms. The San Diego Humane Society is there as well to help provide shelter for pets. The Red Cross says it's prepared alongside partner organizations to open additional shelters as needed. The Red Cross also asks that you bring any important items like prescription medications if you come to the shelter. And if you're interested in helping those impacted by the flooding or are in need of help yourself, we do have a list of resources on our website, cbs8.com. Hit the help button.
Remember, you can keep up with the latest weather conditions and alerts on the go by downloading our free CBS 8 app from Google Play or the Apple App Store.